tonight. A man is behind bars accused of killing his wife in 2010.
Looked everywhere, you know.
Where have you looked?
Called all around the neighborhood, woods, everywhere.
That was Joseph Jones in a 2010 interview with News 12 after his wife, Nicole Tessa, disappeared. Jones told police then that he had a fight with Tessa before she vanished. Her body was found days before Christmas near her North Patchogue home.
He said he didn't know what to tell their 3-year-old son.
He asked for mommy, what do I tell him? She's not here.
Joe and Nicole argued because Joe had stolen Nicole's oxycodone, which she was prescribed for a lupus-based illness. And what happened was he had stolen some pills. He was outside the house. She came out. They were arguing. They walked down the block arguing together. The argument became physical, and he ultimately bludgeoned her to death and strangled her. Dragged her off into the woods, went and got a shovel, and buried her. And she laid in the dirt probably 2 or 3 days before anyone found her. Meanwhile, he went on TV saying he didn't know where his wife was. Please help find her. I want her to come home. Her son wants her. We miss her. Which was all a lie. He had killed her.
And did you know it the whole time?
I felt it. You know, I knew from the time that Jennifer, her twin sister, called me to tell me she was missing. I came home and told my wife that something happened because I knew she was dead. She was the type of girl that, you know, didn't just disappear without her purse or her cell phone, and both of those things were in the house. Mm-hmm. So I knew she wasn't coming back. And ultimately, Suffolk County detectives brought in cadaver dogs, and they were in the woods maybe 10 minutes, and they found her body. He had no means or ways to take care of her remains. So with that, I took possession of her body. I went to the ME's office. I made a positive identification on her body, which I laid in the dirt for 3 days. Which was, I think, one of the hardest things I had to do in my life. And went on to give her a proper burial. And he lasted 5 years on the street saying that he didn't murder his wife, he didn't murder his wife, he didn't murder his wife. But the whole time I knew that he did it.
I've known all along that there was a problem and he was the one. And I just want to say I want to give special thanks to Detective Jeffrey Carrick. He's been great. He stuck by my family the whole time.
If we would have went to trial, I might have lost. And I only would have had him for a year. So the deal on the table was 18 to 20, plead guilty to first-degree manslaughter. And I thought about it. I said I would have rolled the dice and went to trial if trial would have brought my daughter back. But trial won't. She'll still be dead after the trial's over. And there was the chance of him getting out of jail. So I chose to take the deal and not put my family through a long trial, all the evidence, seeing pictures of her in the ground, seeing pictures of her on the autopsy table, seeing all of those horrible things. So we took the deal. One of the stipulations in the deal was that he admit the murder in open court. Admit that he murdered his wife and how he did it. And that happened last night. He went before the judge and admitted that they fought over pills. Things got out of control. It got physical, and he bludgeoned her to death and strangled her and buried her. He is going to be sentenced to a minimum of 18 and a half years the son he had, Aiden, with Nicole, today is 9 years old. If he gets out with good time in 15 years, Aiden will be in his 20s. Okay? Joe, I think, is 38. He'll be close to 50 or in his 50s. So, to me, the thing that I want to keep from him most is that child. And I want that child to know that this man that he calls dad murdered his mother. Because I believe that the worst thing you could do is take someone's life. You know, you shouldn't be able, as a human being, to dictate whether somebody lives or dies. That's for a higher power to do. So I believe the little bit he's going to pay on this earth, he's going to pay more wherever he goes when his time comes. Jennifer, the problem with Jennifer since Nicole's death was that Jennifer spoke with her sister the night she was murdered. And Jennifer argued with her sister the night Nicole was murdered. After her death, she just could not get her shit together. Not that she was an angel before her sister died, but afterwards she spiraled out of control. Using drugs, using different substances. Just until it got to the point where she started using heroin. About a year ago, she was arrested on charges of using and selling heroin. At that time, she had custody of her own 2 daughters, and she had custody of her sister's son, Aiden. Taylor is 5, Madison is 8, and they're great little kids. They're resilient. And Judge Chan gave us custody, gave me and my wife, Helen, custody of Taylor and Madison on an end docket, which is a court order of neglect for those 2 children. Personally, I never thought that my grandchildren were neglected, because any time I saw them, they were in my presence. They were always well dressed, well taken care of. But the thing is that there was drugs in that house. And even though the kids didn't know it, that's neglect. She shouldn't have put them in that position. For those police to break a door down, come in, and arrest both of them, have them in the driveway laying on their bellies with handcuffs on, while your children are looking out the windows. That's a form of neglect.
I'm just so happy finally justice is going to be served. We pray the court does the right thing, and they realize that they have the right guy, and they give him what he needs.
She wanted to sit through the trial because she wanted to exactly know what happened to her sister. Each and every little detail she wanted to know. And she spoke of it constantly. Well, the DA told her she wasn't allowed to sit in a courtroom during the trial because she's a witness. And ultimately, a week later, they found her at 9:57 on the bathroom floor dead. Was probably dead for a long time, because when the ambulance arrived, they wouldn't even take her. So she laid there until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, till the coroner was able to get there and remove her. When her husband called me in the morning, I couldn't believe it. And all I kept saying over and over and over again, what do I do with these little children? What do I do? It's just surreal. It was always that I had the children, I was caring for them, but we were working towards getting them back with their mom. And everything was going so well that they would have been back in June when school was out. But she passed, which changed my whole life. I have to now, at this point, give all 3 of these children a fighting chance had a good life. I want them to know that their mother, both of them, both mothers loved all of their children the best they knew how. I don't think there was ever a question of them ever not loving those kids. It's just that things get in the way. Substance abuse has become an epidemic. It's, I don't believe enough is being done about it. I don't believe there's enough help out there. I don't believe if you're suffering and you finally get to the point where you reach out for help and you want to go somewhere, there's no bed for you. And you have to stay in the street for 30, 60, some people 90 days. Well, you know something? Sometimes it's not enough time. They don't make it to the bed. They make it to the casket, which is sad. We give so much money away in this country. Excuse me.
Do you want to take a second?
No, good. And we can't help our own people that are suffering. May 11th is the sentencing of Joe Jones. I'll be present at that sentencing, which I will make a family impact statement. I'm going to tell Joe how I feel. I'm going to tell him that he not only took one of my daughters, he took both. And the little time, the 18 and a half years, in my heart, is not enough. But it is what it is because it doesn't bring either one of them back. You know, and he's the one that's going to wake up every morning in a cage like an animal for all those years. And I hope when he opens his eyes, he thinks about both those girls. And that his son's going to grow up without him and without his mother. All the things that he should have been doing with that boy, throwing a baseball, taking him, teaching him to ride a bike, taking him places, taking him on vacation, has all been stolen away from him like he stole my daughter from me. But you know what? I cannot let the anger that I have for him destroy me. So once May 11th is done, the door closes and I move on to healing my heart, which I don't think it'll ever be fully healed. There's always the hole. The hole never goes away. But does it get better? It does. Me and my wife, Helen, buried 3 children in 6 years. And I want to say that that shouldn't happen to any family, to nobody. You shouldn't have to do that. You know, we buried Nicole first. We buried my stepson Michael second. And now we buried Jennifer third. In 6 years. That's a lot for one family. You shouldn't have to bury one child. And you know, I just want to say to every parent out there, enjoy every moment. Love your children and just try to point them in the right direction because it could end tomorrow. It could end in a second. Nothing is guaranteed. And if you do have a child that's suffering with substance abuse, talk, try to get him help, become his best advocate. Because there's so many children today suffering from drugs and substance abuse. And we just don't do enough.
Tell me what Does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free like they say? Does the sun shine bright forever? Have your fears and your pain